Jumping into the number 5 spot of the top 5 best 1440p gaming monitors in 2024 is the Dell G2724D, coming in at a price tag of $224.99. If you want to check out any of the 5 monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's talk about the G2724D. Now, firstly, this actually pretty consistently goes on sale for around $200, so you can even potentially get it lower than that $224.99 price tag, making this a great budget 1440p monitor. This comes in at a 27-inch screen size with a 165Hz refresh rate. For variable refresh rate, this has FreeSync Premium and it works flawlessly with G-Sync. Now for the panel type, this is an IPS panel, which means you're going to get great colors and viewing angles as well as great longevity. But how does this game? Let's talk about ghosting. Ghosting here is fantastic. Of the 3 response time settings, none have overshoot, and the fastest is the best setting, which is named extreme. So set it in that one and just leave it there. Even with much faster whips, there is very, very little ghosting. You really get fantastic value here. Even though this has a lower refresh rate, this is still great for fast-paced FPS games due to having that low ghosting. Really overall good, almost crystal clear levels of smearing, very, very low. Now brightness here is also fantastic. Like it's actually fantastic objectively. This is rated for 400 nits of brightness, but after testing this reached a whopping 475 nits of brightness, and that is in SDR. In HDR, this gets a slight brightness bump to about 500 nits, and colors cover only 99% of the sRGB color space, which looks great in SDR. Games look nice and vibrant and beautiful, but we don't have a wider color gamut here that we could use with HDR. So this is mainly an SDR monitor, but for the price point, everything else this gives you, this is a amazing monitor. Overall, if you want a super budget-friendly monitor with high brightness, good viewing angles, and great ghosting, and a 27-inch screen size, this is a great pick. But with that, let's move on to the number 4 spot, which is the AOC Q27G3XMN, coming in at a very budget-friendly price tag of $279.99. This is what I think is one of the single best value dollar-for-dollar monitors on sale right now. And the crazy thing is no one knows about this monitor. All right, this has a 27-inch screen size with a 160Hz native refresh rate, but this has a factory overclock that bumps it up to 180 Hz when you are using DisplayPort. It has FreeSync and is G-Sync compatible and works well with no issues. Now for the panel type, this is the most impressive part. This is a VA panel, but it's mini LED lit with 336 local dimming zones. If you have no idea what that means, this means this is more closely related to an OLED than something like a traditional IPS panel. These local dimming zones make for a much deeper, inkier black on your panel, as well as a extremely high brightness. So if you want a true HDR gaming experience, this is what it's giving you for a price under $300, which is wild, and it's still 1440p. But let's get into the gaming performance. Obviously, VA panels can suffer from ghosting, so how is that? Well, ghosting here is honestly impressive. In brighter scenes, ghosting is very minimal. Basically, you don't notice it at all. However, there is ghosting in the darker scenes, which is expected since this is a VA panel, and that is their nature. However, for me, this wasn't an issue, and I had an absolutely fantastic gaming experience on this monitor. The medium response time setting is what I recommended, as the off and the weak settings have more ghosting, and the strong setting has some inverse ghosting or overshoot. Overall, if you're super prone to ghosting, this is definitely on the much better side of VA panels. It's not just smear city over here. It's definitely very manageable, but if you're absolutely adamant that you can't have ghosting, you might want to look at a different monitor. Now, brightness in SDR is wild. This managed to hit a whopping 560 nits of brightness, which is absolutely fantastic. That makes for a very, very vibrant, stunning, beautiful image, not to mention its ability to basically overpower reflections, things of that nature. It's just great. Now, colors cover 96% of the DCI-P3 color space, which is wild considering all the other specs and this price tag. And on top of that, this has a display HDR 1000 rating, so those highlights when in HDR do reach up to that 1000 nits, which is crazy. The overall colors, vibrancy, beauty of the panel is really, truly impressive. Again, like I said, much closer to an OLED than basically any other type of panel. If you want a real true HDR experience, if you want deep inky blacks, beautiful colors, this panel is insane. This is maybe the best looking panel I've ever reviewed at this under $300 price point. Overall, if you want a sub $300 monitor that is 1440p, mini LED lit with a fantastic true HDR experience, this is the most beautiful monitor you're gonna get at this price point. But with that, let's move on to the number 3 spot, and this is the Samsung G6 or the G65B, coming in at a price tag traditionally significantly higher, but since its release, they've dropped the price down and down until currently, this is $449.90 at the time of filming. For that price, this becomes a really good monitor. Previously, I didn't recommend it as much just because it was priced at like, I think over $800, and that's too much for this monitor, but basically 450 bucks now. This is a really good monitor. Now, you can either get this in 27 inches or 32 inches. I obviously recommend the 32-inch screen size, and this has a 1000R curve. So if you're really into immersion and large screens, the 32-inch with that 1000R curve is sweet. That's a very curved display. Some people don't like it, some people absolutely love it. I'm in the boat, I absolutely love it. If I'm in a game, I would prefer it to be more curved than not. If I'm on the desktop, yeah, maybe not, but if you're primarily using this as a gaming monitor, the curve is a good thing. Now, this one bumps it up to 240 hertz, and for variable refresh rate, this has FreeSync Premium Pro, which means that you can have variable refresh rate on with HDR at the same time, which is awesome. For the panel type, this is a VA panel, but it is one of the best tuned VA panels we've still ever seen. Now, one thing that this monitor is very special is technically this is an all-in-one if you want it to be. You could just use it like a traditional monitor if you want, but this has a full OS built inside of it. This is Samsung's gaming hub, which essentially turns it into kind of like a smart TV, but you have cloud gaming services like Xbox Game Pass, Amazon Luna, GeForce Now, Google Stadia, but beyond this, you also have Apple AirPlay, Netflix, YouTube, and all that literally built in without ever plugging in a console or a PC. This is something that you might value highly or that you don't care about. Either way, you can use this just by, going in your DisplayPort, just using it like a normal PC monitor or for a console. But if you want to have Netflix immediately as you boot it up while you use a remote, which this comes with, then you can do that. And that's really cool. I like that. All right, but let's get into the meat and the potatoes. How does this game? Ghosting. Ghosting is shockingly good for a VA panel. In the faster setting, the middle setting, even when whipping very fast, there is extremely little smearing. Shockingly good for a VA panel. Most of the time, if you're a fast-paced FPS gamer, I almost never recommend VA panels, but that's not the case here. This is very good. Then pair that with 240 hertz. You're doing fast-paced, Warzone, all that, all day long, and it's fantastic, and it's an enjoyable experience. Really quite good. But how pretty is the panel? Let's talk brightness. Well, in SDR, this is rated for 350 nits, but after testing, this hit between 400 and 410 nits all day long. Again, full screen brightness, so that's a nice, good brightness. The image pops, there's great vibrancy, and obviously, because this is a VA panel, you're getting deeper black levels. Not quite like the AOC because that had full array local dimming, but still significantly better than an IPS panel. As for colors, this covers 95% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is great. You really notice the wider color gamut in HDR. Colors look absolutely beautiful, and the darker areas of the screens have a lot more detail. Overall, if you want an all-in-one smart monitor with OS cloud gaming, or you just want all the media consumption apps, 240 hertz and extremely low ghosting, one of the best tuned VA panels we've ever seen, then this is a great monitor, especially if you want a 32-inch screen size. But with that, let's move on to the number 2 spot, and this is the Cooler Master Tempest GP27Q, coming in at a price tag of $549.99. This is a freaking beautiful monitor that still has the performance. This is a 27-inch screen size, but hits 165 hertz and has FreeSync that now allows, after a firmware update that came a long time ago, now allows for variable refresh rate to be on with HDR, which is awesome because you're going to want to do that a lot with this monitor. This also works flawlessly with G-Sync, so no problems there. Now for the panel type, this is an IPS-based panel. However, like the AOC, this is mini LED lit, giving you now 576 local dimming zones. And because this is an IPS-based panel over a VA-based panel, this gives you even better colors and a significantly deeper black level, which you really wouldn't expect VA with local dimming versus IPS with local dimming, but this IPS gives you significantly deeper black levels. So it's very, very, very clean. The image overall is very, very clean, crisp, and just has that beauty that an IPS panel gives you, but now with the black level. So it's like the perfect world. Gaming on this, especially in games like Forza Horizon 5, Fortnite, Red Dead, Halo, this looks absolutely stunning on this panel. If you're into playing games that you really just want to look at and look at the beauty of, not just grind in, but if you really enjoy the beauty of your games, this panel is amazing for that. Now let's talk ghosting here. Because this is an IPS panel, it is extremely low. Smearing is basically not noticeable, paired with having the single best implementation of a ghosting response time settings in any monitor that I've ever reviewed. It is a 0 to 100 scale in increments of 1, so you can literally perfectly dial in your ghosting. This should be on every monitor. It's amazing. So your ghosting is unbelievably minimal. So good. But how's the brightness? Well, as you expect, it's mini LED lit. This thing gets crazy bright. This was tested at a massive 530 nits of brightness in SDR. However, in SDR, when you turn local dimming on, this pushes well over 1,100 nits, and that's full screen brightness. That is unbelievably bright. This thing is too bright. Basically, every monitor I ever use, I just put brightness to 100% and leave it there all the time. This monitor is so unbelievably bright, you have to turn it down in SDR. But HDR is really where you want to use the local dimming. That's really what it was designed for. And I honestly, a lot of the time with this monitor, just left this thing in HDR like all the time. It still is hitting 1,000 nits and over that in the highlights, but not as bright full screen, which is again what you want, around 500-600 nits. And it's absolutely stunning. Now colors here are also fantastic, covering 98% of the DCI-P3 color space thanks to a quantum dot layer. So this panel just has a ton that went into it. And especially if you're comparing this to like an OLED, this still has unbelievably beautiful colors, very, very, very deep blacks. And if you compare this to an OLED, while an OLED, yes, will have better clarity with like motion with the blacks, because local dimming obviously will cause small amounts of blooming, but the OLED is a disposable product that will have burn-in at some point in its life, whereas this monitor will never have burn-in. You never have to worry about it. And to me, I'm very, very value-based. This monitor is just so freaking good. And I don't know why it's not as popular as it should be. Overall, if you want one of the most beautiful 1440p gaming monitors that has OLED-like black levels, stunning colors, amazing HDR, while managing not to have any risk of burn-in due to this being an IPS panel, this is a fantastic pickup. But with that, let's move on to the number one best 1440p gaming monitor of 2024. I think this is one of the best value monitors that I've reviewed in a long time. This is the Alienware AW2725DF, coming in at a price tag of $899.99. This has a 27-inch screen size, hits 360 hertz, has FreeSync Premium Pro, which obviously allows for a variable refresh rate to be on with HDR, and works flawlessly with NVIDIA graphics cards with G-Sync. But why this is so special is this is a QD or quantum dot OLED. And unlike the LG OLED, which again was only 240 hertz and had that awful matte finish, which completely ruined that monitor, as well as having very, very low brightness on release. This is the same price as the LG that's currently on sale. So the sale price versus this release price, they're the same price, and this offers 120 hertz more. This is 360. The LG is only 240. The value here is immense. But because this has a glossy finish, it is absolutely stunning. This is what you expect when you're thinking you're buying an OLED. Now, the ghosting here is absolutely crystal clear. This is like the lowest ghosting you can possibly get in the industry right now. Gaming on this monitor is extremely enjoyable. It's super fluid with a 360 hertz. It's insanely crisp due to basically no smearing. And this can 100% be used for esports level gaming. It's that good. But on the flip side of that, while you're doing your fast-paced gaming, you can have one of the most beautiful monitors on sale today. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the beauty of the panel. Brightness on OLEDs constantly fluctuates by what you're looking at. That's just the nature of them. So this tested at 280 nits full screen brightness, but the highlights going about 500 nits of brightness. So the actual picture is definitely not dim. Like I was never like, I need more brightness like I felt with the LG OLED. It is significantly noticeably brighter than the LG panel. But the real place you're gonna wanna use this is in HDR. HDR. This is where you have highlights peaking at 1000 nits. This also gives you a super wide color gamut covering 99.3% of the DCI-P3 color space, so games look stunning and beautiful and vibrant. You can also do professional photo and video editing on this. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful monitors I have ever used. If that's what you're going for, this will not disappoint, especially because this can still do fast-paced esports level gaming, but you also have the most beautiful black levels, infinite black levels. It's amazing. Overall, if you're looking for a stunning OLED display with a glossy finish, 360Hz refresh rate, crystal clear ghosting levels, and an extremely wide color gamut, this is the best in the market right now. Again, if you want to check out any of the 5 monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. And if you enjoyed this video and it helped you out, because these videos take a freaking ton of money and time, drop a like below. It helps the video perform. But this was Consumer Tech Review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.